Welcome everybody to the 12th episode of Sunday Musicians Café. Today the guest is an incredible renowned conductor, and I feel very honored to be able to have this chat with Geoffrey Simon, an Australian conductor based in London, where we actually met the first time. He was a student of Herbert von Karajan, Rudolf Kempe, Hans Swarovski and Igor Markevich, and a major prize winner at the first John Player International Conductor Award. Geoffrey is an incredible, outstanding musician, and you will see he has a lot of things to say and very interesting insights for us as artists. Obviously, because of his incredibly valuable career that he has behind him. And he made 45 recordings for a number of labels, and he has his own label, Color Records, and for his own label he has a series of records where he has brought together ensembles of single instrumentalists such as violinists, violas, double bass, strings player, horns, trumpets and harps, drawn from London's leading solo and orchestral musicians. And their recordings have attracted interest among instrumentalists, composers and audiences worldwide. I'm introducing today a bit more the guest because I think it's really a honor for us to have Geoffrey today sharing with us his experience. He has appeared in London with major orchestras, so London Philharmonic Orchestra, London Symphony Orchestra, Philharmonia Orchestra, Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, London Chamber Orchestra, and English Chamber Orchestra. So as you can see, is very active here in London. But he started his directorship in Australia. Then he moved to the US, the United States, and I think he will be very interesting to know about all of these experiences and the similarities and differences that he found during his way. And I feel again very honored to be able to have this chat with him, and his career again is of an incredible value, and so he has conducted the orchestras of the highest level in the world, and really happy to have met him here in London. And yes, let's invite him to have this chat for the Sunday Musicians Cafe. I hope you are all good at home. A cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something. I should have been invited him to the chat. Hey, Geoffrey, how are you?
Very good. I'm glad we made the connection without any problem or incident.
Of course. I mean, yes, absolutely. No, I'm really happy we can do this today. Nice. What are you drinking today?
Today it's decaf, so that I don't get too jumpy when I'm talking with you.
Fantastic. I'm not a really big fan of decaf, but certainly of coffee, so at least it's coffee.
Exactly.
I like the taste of coffee, so obviously I'm drinking coffee as usual, trying to keep up with my Italian stereotype.
Well, I had my heavy duty coffee this morning, so
good.
We're fine. Good.
Fantastic. Again, I'm so incredibly honored to spend a bit of time with you today in this little project I'm doing. As you know, this is the 12th episode, and we had guests before, and some of them are friends in common as well. So, and we'll be able to talk about this a bit. As I was saying to the audience, you have an incredibly world-known career and world-class musician. So, and I was explaining that you're Australian originally, but you moved to the United States, and then you work now here in London. So it would be nice to have briefly maybe an explanation of your journeys around the world, and if you want to share some experiences and explaining some similarities of what you found interesting in all of these places.
Of course, very happy to do this. Coming from Australia, there is, as you well know, there's an attitude of she'll be okay on the day, mate. A very laid back, easy sort of attitude, which is wonderful to live with, but sometimes it makes it a little harder to get below the surface to what the emotion is. So when I'm conducting there, I have to really probe to find the emotion of the music. On the contrary, when you go to America, this is macho, it's can do, we're the land of the free, everything is open, opportunity is there. We know that the truth is not quite like that, but somehow in the culture, there is a remnant of this. And when people come together to play music, and I work with them, I get them fired up very easily because the energy is there and the will to explore and to do things. So I love conducting in America, and the sound I get from an orchestra is a little bit different over there. And then in this country, where I've been living for most of my adult life, because I love it here, and this is a center of music, it's a wonderful base to be in. We run into the cultural thing of stiff upper lip and a bit of emotional reserve. So when I'm conducting here, I have to be careful to get behind that to get the music. But what is so fantastic here, and why I stay here, is the enormous sensitivity of the professional, the higher level musicians, and their ability to create color, to turn on a dime. We would say in this country that musicians eat notes for breakfast. They learn so quickly. So when we're recording, you can go from sight reading to a finished take in almost no time. And that's an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I found in London the same environment in a way. As a violinist myself, from an Italian background, you know, where emotions and sentiments are really open space kind of thing. Yeah, they are thrilling everywhere. And you know, you come here in London and you see the mixture of so many cultures, and you know, and probably what I thought personally is so diverse, the environment, that everybody's afraid of, you know, stepping outside some cultures, you know, like, and trying to, and it's very so enriching to being able to attend an institution such as a Royal College, where, you know, you met such a diverse spectrum of musicians. And it's so true what you were saying, that here you have to be very conscious of the fact that we eat notes for breakfast, in the sense that they are very much used to sight read, so to work very fast, and, you know, to have projects every week, and you know, the big studios, as you were mentioning. Yes, absolutely. So what do you think was the biggest project you have ever done here in London, and the biggest project you had done in the United States that you could compare?
Whoa. I think I've had music directorships in America, and so there are lots of incredible memories, and including conducting the Mahler cycle in Seattle, Washington, where it was an orchestra that would meet every summer for 2 weeks to do the most difficult music. And it was a mixture of professional musicians, but also computer scientists and rocket scientists and computer nerds, because it had employees from Microsoft and Boeing. And these were people who could have been professional musicians, and they trained often at conservatories, but decided to make an honest living and earn a few $1 million by going in these high-tech industries, which is what Seattle is all about. But when they come to play after hours, they expiate. They just want to play and get rid of all the day job and get into their music. And because they're very good players, the level is just extraordinary. So
I can imagine.
I went there for 10 consecutive summers, every year doing a different Mahler symphony. And I have to say, as well as all my other experiences, and I could go on for hours about them, that was, off the top of my head, a really special thing. In this country, as we were saying, working with these most amazing musicians is an extraordinary thing, and it's very testing. When I was younger, I was able to start quite early conducting these great orchestras at the outset of my recording career and concert career. But when you stand in front of the London Symphony, for instance, as a young conductor, a little bit nervous and doing something where you know they know the music 10 times better than you, actually not 10 times, 1,000 times better than you, and they will test you. Can I tell a quick story?
Of course, please.
Yeah, if you ask for memorable moments, you remember some which sort of go against you a bit. I was very lucky to be playing on the Saturday night at Kenwood, one of those wonderful open-air concerts with the London Symphony, and on the Sunday night it was at Crystal Palace. Same program. London Symphony doesn't take these gigs terribly seriously. There's a lot of playing around, and the audience is a long way away on the other side of a lake. All sorts of things go on, and here's me, a serious conductor, wanting to make music, and we come to the Trepak of the Nutcracker Suite. And as you know, that gets faster at the end. There's an accelerando. So I'm happily sailing along. It's going very well, because even if they're in a funny mood, they play damn well, that orchestra. But they come to the accelerando, and I'm getting ready, that the first trumpet, whose name at that time, sadly he's passed now, was Maurice Murphy, and he came from the, I think it was the Black Dyke Mills Band, this huge tradition in this country of brass bands, and he decided to control the accelerando. So and the orchestra, I watched their eyes. Oh, we're going to go with the trumpet player. I was left behind, and I had to chase until the end. And I said, wow, this is no good. Where's my authority? Next night, it comes to the same place, and I know he's going to do the same thing. And he does. So I say, no, and I go like that. Like that, and I watch their faces again, and for about a half a second, which is an eternity. It's like in Formula One, you can travel a mile in half a second. Here, the orchestra was undecided, and there was a moment where it was like this. And then, because they're so wonderfully disciplined, the London Symphony, they went with me. And we ended up together. Maurice Murphy looking down his trumpet. If that had been a machine gun, I would have been blown a mile away. But the next movement, and this is the thing, it starts with a beautiful Arabian dance where the violas, I think, go dee-dom, pom, 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 dee-da. So I can't smile because I've had this victory. Oh, no, you never did that. So I look at the violas and I go, and they go, dee-da, dum, pum, 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 bee. They play almost double the speed, so they got me.
Wow, that's really nice.
These things make you grow up very fast as a conductor. You never forget them. I will say, later on, when I was doing my trumpet sound, you mentioned massed single instrument orchestras. Maurice was playing in that record of 16 top-rate London trumpets, and we became very good friends. I think it was nice, a certain sort of mutual respect at the end.
Yeah, wow, that's a really nice insight from your experiences, and very nice anecdote as well. I mean, I was thinking while you were saying conducting such a big orchestra and like with such a tradition, obviously, and immediately came to my mind the fact that we are often in our world, but maybe the audience is difficult to get this concept of having a sound of the orchestra, right? So a kind of an identity of the orchestra. And I mean, obviously, this orchestra, they have such a prominent identity. So I guess, I mean, the thing you experienced with the Accelerando is just one little glimpse of what an orchestra can be as a big instrument to manage, right? And when you're talking about these kind of big and renowned orchestras, they have also like their own sound, their own way to play. And so I was wondering whether you could tell us how you can actually manage so many different ways of conducting different orchestras with this identity, which is like imposing on you, actually.
That's a brilliant question, and one that I think about all the time, and there is an answer. Okay. The thing with an orchestra gaining its own identity, particularly the London ones, which are self-governed, so the musicians ultimately decide where they're going, and they're very conscious of identity, to the point where if you, as a violinist, would get into the London Symphony Orchestra in an audition, maybe we'll talk about auditions later, that if you would succeed to the London Symphony, you would fail to get into the Philharmonia. Because the London Symphony is the muscular orchestra. They're the ones that just muscular and powerful by nature and by design. Philharmonia is the more impressionistic, the more subtle orchestra. So where does that leave the conductor when you're conducting all these orchestras? First thing is, I need to have my own identity. And we might talk about this, how you give rise to your own identity. Leave that for a later question while we talk. But I have my identity. My job with the orchestra, I will not change the identity of the London Symphony, and I would be a fool if I tried. Conductors do try, and poof, out they go. You respect their identity. As I said, they are much more experienced than you are, well, not now, I'm old, but back in the day, you know.
Yeah, so young, you're very young, Geoffrey. We still need you on this planet, so don't worry.
There you go. No, so what you do as a conscious strategy is you must never give up your own identity, because if you do, firstly, you don't get the result you want. It's not your music, it's theirs. Secondly, they don't respect you because they know immediately that you are toying with them.
Yeah.
You're tickling them, as I say.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. So what I do, and it took me a long time to learn it, I'm more confident now, of course, is that I draw them along like this, but I move myself a little along too, till we meet in the middle. I take what they give in terms of color, reaction time, energy levels, and I know what I want with my concept of sound and of phrasing and of musicality. And when we hit that sweet spot in the middle, it just happens. We get in a groove, it's them, it's me, there's mutual respect, and above all, there's a good performance at the end of it.
Wow. That's actually, you were enlightening an experience I had personally with the Royal College of Music. And when we were obviously playing all together, the obvious thing that students orchestras, they don't have like a traditional sound because they are always new people, obviously. But what we do have is the bond between us. So we have very strong friendships. And so the conductors that come, they always have to deal with these bonds that, you know, you might have the leading section, you know, the leading desks. They might be a very good quartet, right? So the conductor has to deal with this identity, right? And I remember when I played, and this is something that I will carry in my heart forever. I think such a transcendental experience. It was during rehearsals. I was co-leading Mahler No. 4.
Oh, difficult.
Very difficult with Jack Van Steen conducting, and there were moments of such incredible beauty I will never forget, because of this sweet point that you were talking about, where the conductor came to us in a way that we wanted to go to him. So, you know, it was beautiful, and it was really maybe transcendental. I don't know if it's the right word, but you know, it was, you know, I don't know, an experience of making music, especially in rehearsals, because the concert, obviously, the concerts are like you also have to perform in a way, so you have to focus in a way, no? But rehearsals, in a way, you are kind of free of feeling these moments of music making. What do you think about this?
You don't concentrate in rehearsals?
No, of course we do.
I'm
kidding.
Of course
We do.
I'm kidding.
But in a way, you're much freer, obviously.
Of course, and you can experiment a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's very good to hear, firstly, that you've had these transcendental experiences, because as musicians, these are the things that keep us alive. And I could tell you a whole bunch of things that I treasure as being so incredibly important moments and performances that were so moving and wonderful. It's great that you've already had them, even as a very young man, and I'm sure you'll have many more. But an interesting thing that comes up from this, firstly, that there is this sort of bonding in a college orchestra, and I can well understand that. But from the conductor's perspective, what you get with a younger orchestra is a lack of experience, particularly and usually because college orchestras usually get lots of different conductors, one after the other, with guests, and then they change personnel every year. What you don't get with a college orchestra is a mature ensemble, the way you do with any professional orchestra that finds its sound and finds its rhythm and everything. So when I conduct college orchestras, and I do a lot, I've taught at American universities for 6 years before I became fully professional. So I love working with college level students because they're bright, they're fresh, they're interested, eager to learn, and responsive. As well as being cheeky and streperous at times. No, but what my job there is a bit different. You have to respect what you've got, the talents that you have. But my job is to build an ensemble, even in the course of 5 rehearsals for one concert. And this is what I've trained myself to do, is to get that special sound coming out in the strings and the winds, so that it sounds more than the sum of the parts. That I'm very fortunate that in my training as a conductor, where I studied with von Karajan particularly, and others who taught me how to do this, and as a cellist, I'm very comfortable with the strings. So I love doing that, and my job is to get it achieved very, very quickly, so that the orchestra plays above what it thought it could. If I succeed, everybody's happy. If I fail, they say, "What this guy doing? Get him."
Absolutely. Okay. No, that's fantastic. I mean, absolutely, I can relate with what you're talking about, because having been a student and playing in a college orchestra, I can really relate to that. And talking about stepping back a bit on identity and how, we talked about the identity of an orchestra, but really what an orchestra is a number of artists. So each artist has his own identity. And as an artist, has to look for his identity and authenticity on the stage. Same will happen for an orchestra. But what would you think? I mean, is the best way to do it in a way? Because obviously, an artist can be authentic only if he's doing this research within himself of this identity, right? So I think you have for sure something to say about this because of your experience. So,
of course, absolutely. I think the search for identity amongst, and let's say musicians, is for everybody really in life, and artists. But let's talk about musicians. Is absolutely crucial for several reasons. First of all, so that when you're on stage performing, an audience has got something to look at you and say, this guy is special in this way, he's unique, and he's worth listening to or watching, or both. That said, identity goes much deeper. Many musicians create a fake identity. You see conductors who get up there, I'm different from when I'm off the podium. I try to make a point of being the same when I'm on the podium as well.
I love this. I absolutely love this. Yeah,
but we all know these conductors who are martinets, and discount them. There is no identity there that counts. What's much more important is finding one's own identity. Now, the first thing that needs to do, you have to look into yourself deep, and you have to say, what makes me tick? What are my passions? What lights me up like a fire? And what doesn't? And so let me talk about someone other than myself. It's nice once in a while not to talk about myself.
Okay.
We both know 𝒂𝒕𝒕𝒆𝒏. He was on your program just a few weeks ago.
He's actually the friend that we have in common.
Yes, he's our mutual friend. And I love to call him my friend, even though I'm way older. I could be his grandfather. Never mind. I've known him for many years. We've worked together. Just this March, we were in America doing the 𝒂𝒕𝒕𝒔, which was the most amazing experience working with him. And then in April, we did with the London Mozart players, the Mozart C major.
I saw that.
Yeah, the number 21, which is transcendental in its own way.
Yeah.
And so I really know this artist extremely well, and he, partly naturally and partly through thinking and cultivating it, has developed one of the strongest identities as a musician amongst young soloists that I've seen, that is also 100% genuine. He's a poet. He looks for sensitivity, he looks for profundity, and he seeks to bring that out in his music in all ways that pianists can do, with touch and tone and technique and everything. And the extent to which he succeeds is what happened on the day that we all met, is that he won the 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒕𝒅𝒏 audition, the Young Concert Artist Trust. And he won it because he displayed this identity as a force of nature. And I've been on juries. I was on the 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒅𝒏 jury in New York and the Young Concert Artist jury in New York. And what YCA used to tell the jury members, guys, when you listen to one of these candidates in the final, the ones that should win are the ones that you, as a jury member, would actually pay money to go and listen to. And I thought, yes, this is so much better than the
This is so good. This is so good.
Yeah, this is so much better than the competition, whereas if you play one wrong note or you're out of tune, they throw you out. Or if you do piano when the music actually says mezzo forte. I've seen this in competitions for years, and jury members that hear, would I pay money for that person? No, no. Yes. And you go for the ones that you say yes, and what happens invariably, they make the good careers.
Yeah.
And so that's where identity is so crucial, because you will not get that result, whether it's a jury member or an audience member or your own mother, if you cannot well, maybe your mother, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe your mother, yeah.
But that was perhaps the wrong example, yeah. But so long as you can project an identity. Very quickly, for me, my identity, ever since I was a child, when mistakenly I used to love listening to records of an orchestra called the Mantovani Orchestra, string orchestra. Most people watching this podcast wouldn't know who they were, but they played very sugary, sweet, soulful kind of semi-pop music. It was very, very popular, but it was, and I thought, oh, that's so rich. When I began to listen to them 20 years later, I realized it was not so good, but it made me like the idea of richness of sound.
Yes.
And then when I started really working on my conducting, and I heard some orchestras that were incredibly rich. Bavarian Radio Orchestra under Kubelik one night blew me away. I had some lessons with von Karajan. He showed me how to make an orchestra play rich, as we were talking about earlier. And the other thing is I learned cello at Indiana University, where I did my master's in conducting, from the wonderful cello teacher called János Starker, who was perhaps the greatest cello teacher alive at the time. And he showed how to produce a sound that had unbelievable richness to it. So for me, richness is number one, equal number one, because the other side is passion.
Passion.
You can't express powerful emotions and your feelings and what you've got inside you. You have to when you're on the podium. You have to when you're up there playing an instrument. For me, that's important. Other musicians, not so much. They're more cerebral and the intellect. That's not me.
Yeah. I mean, I thank you so much for all of these insights. I mean, I totally agree on what you said about Ignace, and he was one of the guests of the podcast as well. So I'm really honored that he was able to come to one of these Sunday Musicians Cafe before winning 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒕𝒅𝒏, in which we also met. And it's true that he's one of those artists that you can tell is genuine on the stage. And I love that. And I totally agree with you on the fact that there are musicians which they have identity, but it might be fake. So they just build up an identity which is not their own true identity, right? So sometimes it's like, and you were mentioning actually the engaging, the level of engaging of the audience as well. Immediately you can spot the audience doesn't know maybe why, but they can feel that there is something wrong with some people. and and they actually feel the opposite. So they feel connection with the artist. And sometimes, for example, taking Ignas as an example, I think he matched perfectly his identity and his search for the truth, let's say, with his own how would you say, like sensitivity. So he knows what to choose, what to play as well.
Yes.
So he knows what he's good at. And like, and I saw in other artists, I mean, not just talking about Ignas, obviously, but as we are talking about Ignas, I think he's very inspiring for that, because he chose the right repertoire as well that he can play. So choosing the repertoire as well is such a big important part of the performance.
Let me make a little comment.
Yes.
You're completely right. And Ignas has been playing Chopin since he began to get out of the cradle. Because Chopin, he has such a natural affinity for Chopin,
yes.
and he makes you cry when he plays so beautifully. This year, I've seen he's been focusing on Schubert and learning a lot of Schubert pieces, which has its own kind of sensitivity.
Yes.
If I had something to say to Ignas, hey mate, I don't know if you're watching.
I think he's watching, yes. I think he's watching.
I would like to see Ignas practice playing jazz, because there's a different kind of freedom and a different kind of flexibility and a different kind of gestalt to jazz that is just wonderfully freeing. And my feeling is that as a professional musician, your identity is firm and strong, but leading a life as a professional musician, you're going to be called upon to play anything. I could see Ignas getting invited to play a Shostakovich piano concerto, or something. I know he's very good at contemporary music because I've heard him play it. And I speak not just for Ignas, but maybe for all us musicians. We need to allow ourselves, and in fact, enjoy playing different genres.
Yeah.
I have conducted big bands with my orchestra of similar instruments, the horns and trumpets. I make big bands out of these groups, and we do jazz. And, with the jazz bass and jazz piano and everything. I love it.
That's very nice.
Stop the swing you do. And to stand in front of good musicians and help them shape the music. What a treat. And it is so far away from classical.
Yeah, it's true. I love jazz, and what I'm doing in London as well is I'm not just a musician and a performer, obviously, but I do also a bit of managing. So I've managed a little concert series, and I invited jazz concert performers to have a concert, and I absolutely loved it. I really loved it, and engaging with them, it was so enriching as well. So you start from scratch in a way, even though I know a lot of things about music and I played the most difficult things, Paganini, Wieniawski, these kind of things for violin. I start from scratch when I'm talking about jazz, and it makes me feel not uncomfortable. The opposite. It makes me feel like wondering, like wow, excited, and like wow, I want to learn this, and I absolutely agree with you, and yeah. And I mean, this chat has been so much inspiring for all the audience, I guess, and really I feel again honored to have you here to have this chat with you, Geoffrey, and I hope to meet you again very soon in London. And I mean, as usual, I ask, but feel free of not answering, but more or less we already said a couple of things that can be inspirational for the young generation. As young musician, I want to always give hope and and good tips to the young generation. So if you would have just a little tip for us as young musicians, I would love it. Otherwise, I mean, we take some inspiring insights you gave us already.
Of course. Actually, there is something that I would like to say. And again, when we're playing jazz or popular commercial music, rhythm just goes. It's always solid. What I find with classical musicians is that amazingly, so many musicians, they have really bad rhythm, classical musicians. And over the years, I do a lot of coaching of super talented young musicians, and again I can hear thinking, I was hoping you would ask me this question. So thinking about an example, I'm choosing an example that you would have played many, many times. And that's from this wonderful Bach chaconne that we all know so well, and that pianist plays the Bach Busoni version of this. There is a dotted rhythm at the very beginning of this piece, which is dim, bum, bim, bum, bum, ba. What almost every untrained musician does, and a lot of very trained ones, they cut that dot short.
Yeah,
they,
it's true.
dim, bum, bim, ba, ba. And when you cut that short, also they cut the eighth note, dim, bum, ba. They fall in. And when that happens, the majesty of this music, the power, it's tragic music. He wrote it, you know, under the most awful circumstances. This opening gesture is meant to be granitic, like a church or a cathedral. And if you get to bum, 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 then you get that feeling. And the moment you get that dotted rhythm wrong, you cut it short.
Yeah.
Away and it becomes nothing. So if I could say one thing, is please, to all musicians, young and old, think of those dots and give them their value.
I love this. I love this. It's so specific, but also so broad as well as a concept. Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Thank you so much. I mean, honestly, I feel I would continue this chat forever probably, but because we have to cut it through and, you know, to keep the length. Maybe we'll have another episode with you, because I think you have so many things to say, and I would love to hear them. So maybe in the next season, I will invite you again very willingly. And thank you so much for being here. And yeah, please, everybody follow his profile on Instagram. It's very new, very fresh. And he can grow very much. I think he has very good things to say to us as a young.
I'll ask you then, Pietro, to teach me how to deal with following and not following, because I need to be taught all that.
No problem, no problem.
What a pleasure to talk with you. Your questions are great. You bring a lot out of me, and
thank you so much.
Lovely to have this dialogue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can I think leave the live if you want to.
Okay,
I close it.
Hit the X. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Let's try X. Here we go. Leave.
Thank you.
I'm saying leave.
Yeah. Wow, what a guest! Incredible. I mean, he's. I mean, as you can see, I mean, he's an incredible musician, and I really want him to come again to speak about other things, because I really believe he has a lot of things to say. And I hope you enjoyed this Sunday Musicians Cafe 12 episode. Yes, 12, even though it was the 13th week of this project, because last week I took a week of rest. So thank you for following up, and it means the world to me, because this little project is a little thing, you know. I try to bring hope to the platform and create a interesting space for the audience and, you know, friends of mine and who are following. So yes, please continue follow this project and follow his profile, Geoffrey Simon, and which is very fresh account, as you will see. Obviously, I mean, is another generation. Is like that, you know. But I mean, as you can see, it's super active and very willing, eager to do things online. So please follow him and have a look at his Wikipedia page, where you can find everything about his life and be in contact with him probably on his website. And yeah, so see you next Sunday, and please follow up. Bye bye.